Welcome to another episode of Top of the List. I'm Dom. This is RB. We're going to be discussing Cobra Kai Season 2. This is our review. We're going to give you guys our scores first, and then later, after we give our scores, if you haven't seen it yet, just pause the video at that point and just go watch it. And then after that, come right back, and we're going to discuss the rest of our thoughts on the finale. You know, there's going to be a lot of spoilers at that point. So you guys just come back right after we give our scores, and I'll say it again when we give our scores. But yeah, Cobra Kai Season 2. Ryan and I just did the Season 1 review. You can check that out on our channel, along with our most recent video. Ryan, what was our most recent video?
Yeah, we just recently reviewed. Why am I blanking on this? What did we just record?
We just recorded a reaction.
That's right, our reaction to the dropping of The Mandalorian Season 2 trailer. Our first ever trailer reaction. So go ahead and give that a view as well. And of course, we may be talking a lot more about TV shows with the Emmys this week. The Mandalorian nominated for quite a few, if I'm not mistaken, as well as some other shows that we both are fans of. So maybe we'll come back and do an Emmy review show next week. We'll see.
That's a great idea, man. But for this week's episode, let's go ahead. Let's get our scores out of the way. I'll start it off. Cobra Kai Season 2. I think that definitely not as good as the first season. I'm going to give it a little bit lower score. Just to recap on my score, I think I gave Season 1 a 9 out of 10, the same as I thought it was about the same footing as the movie was. But I think that this one is definitely going to get knocked down a few points. I'm going to give this one a 7.5 out of 10. A good, almost great, but did have a few things we'll critique after we go into the spoilers. So go ahead, Ryan. What's your score?
I agree that this season definitely took a step back from Season 1. I think they wanted to do, it became a lot less serious. There were a lot more quirky lines and, just sort of one-line comedic relief scenes that I felt didn't need to be there. There were also other just side plots that I felt had no need of being in the season. So episodes 1 through, it's 8 episodes. Episodes 1 through 7, I would say, were about a 6.5, 7 out of 10. Was not a fan. I mean, still watchable, still a good show. But the season finale absolutely knocked my socks off. Huge fan of that, and I think that saved the season. So that bumped it to like an 8 out of 10 for me. So I gave Season 1 a 9 out of 10 as well. I'm going to give Season 2 an 8 out of 10.
Okay, yeah, so we're almost in the same ballpark there. I am going to correct you there, Ryan. It's 10 episodes in Season 1 and 2.
All right, so then episodes 1 through 9, I will say, I would give like a 6.5 or 7 out of 10. And then finish it off with episode 10 blew my socks off, that saved this. That was a 10 out of 10 episode that made it an 8 out of 10 all in all. The finale. It was fantastic.
Now I get it. Yeah. Okay, yeah, so right now is the point. We've given our scores. I guess, after hearing our scores, I feel like we could give this totally a recommend. Go ahead and watch it. Especially if you've seen Season 1, go ahead and watch it. It's not a waste of your time. And Season 3 is going to be coming in 2021 anyway, so go right ahead and watch this one. So if you haven't seen it yet, go ahead and watch it, and then pause, and then come back, and we're going to start talking about spoilers right now. So I think the most important thing for this season is the most positive thing for this season was that cliffhanger ending, the fight sequence at the end of this season. The final episode was so high tension and so high on the levels of emotions. I think that we got into the characters over this course of the season, and I think everything kind of came to a head in that episode, and they did a great job executing not only the fight sequences but some of the dramatic sequences as well, and a lot of the acting. So
let's start with the beginning of the season finale. Obviously fight sequence throughout the West Valley High School, incredible. And that ending, emotional, heartfelt, and just, quite honestly, the quintessential cliffhanger. What's going on with what's going to be going on with Miguel? How is he going to wake up after this, this seemingly, obviously traumatic injury, looked like a spinal cord injury. What's going on with Kreese and, running this underground dojo that he's now taken away from Johnny. I mean, even what's going on with Robbie. We didn't see Robbie at the end of the season after, he kicks Miguel and Miguel falls over the banister. We don't even know where he was. He just sort of dipped. So but I even want to jump back to the opening sequence of the season finale. We finally get to see Johnny and Daniel fight it out at the apartment. I mean, finally, we do get Sam and Robbie to break them up, but we finally get to see them fight for the first time since the All Valley tournament.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the All Valley tournament because it's kind of intercut with that original fight from the original
Yes.
Karate Kid, which makes it even better.
Really well
really
executed,
great. Yeah. So I think we're both sitting on the same footing for this episode. I think this is, even better than maybe last season's finale because, even when we talked about last season's finale and the season 1 review, I think we both said, it was kind of it was a bittersweet kind of ending, and
we were very conflicted.
Mixed. Yeah, exactly. We were both conflicted. So this one was more like, wow. I mean, even the title of the episode, I just looked it up, No Mercy. That's like an awesome title, and it epitomizes everything that the first 2 seasons of this show have been about.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, and especially, so you have the cliffhanger with Robbie and with Miguel and Sam. But how about on top of that, the cliffhanger we get left with Kreese? As the season ends, Kreese is there once again, getting our great cliffhanger in the season finale, like he had in season 1, training Hawk and everyone else here at Cobra Kai. Sort of undoing all the good and the evolution we saw in Johnny Lawrence, and the whole no mercy mantra that he said. Look, sometimes it's important to show mercy. And we've got Kreese now, undoing all that good and training up Hawk and, this band that really started up that fight, to show no mercy.
Yeah. So that kind of leads me into another question I think we could kind of talk about here, Ryan. How did you feel about the inclusion of Kreese in this season? I know that, that was the big cliffhanger at the end of season 1. Did it deliver on that kind of cliffhanger? Did it follow through with the character arc for you?
It really did. There were quite a few new characters in season 2. Most of them I did not like. I felt like they were poorly developed, that the story arc didn't work. I'll give an example, and I'm not remembering her name, but Miguel's love interest.
Peyton List. That's the actress's name.
I feel like her character wasn't really well developed. She was just kind of thrown in there to be, to sort of be the starter of this jealousy between her and Sam, but her character wasn't all that well developed. But Kreese, I'll throw him in there. I think his story arc was awesome, that, he sort of has become this, or at least to Johnny and to us, the viewers, has become this shell of a man, and you think he wants redemption. And then you get that great episode where Johnny's out with his old buddies, of course, all the old actors that were in the original Karate Kid. And, his buddy passes away at the end of the episode, which sadly enough, the actor who played him did pass away as well. And they're telling him, they're warning him, Kreese is not a good guy. And he finally gets to see that because, we're starting to side with Kreese too and thinking that he's made a change. But, I loved the story arc there, and I'm really excited to see where they go with him in season 3 now that he's taken over the Cobra Kai dojo.
Yeah, so I think we're both on the same page as far as that Kreese story arc. I think it's pretty cool. It kind of felt like, they had to have it in there. At some points, it kind of felt weird, but the performances not the performances, like the performances and the chemistry between Johnny and Kreese, I think that kind of pulled it through for me. It's kind of like, is he good? Is he bad? I like guessing the whole season.
Yeah.
But I want to say, though, that I'm done with that whole guessing storyline. I hope they never try to redeem him again, that he's just a 100% bad guy in season 3.
Yeah.
That's what I really want to see. But we'll get to that later. As far as some of the other characters you included, I do see what you say by Peyton List's character. She is kind of just Tori. She is kind of just the inciting incident, right? If you know anything about creating a story, there's always an inciting incident in TV, especially. It's really important. and
Yeah.
when you're writing a screenplay. She does kind of just become this inciting incident. So I see where you're coming from
Yeah,
that.
and there are other characters as well that I wasn't crazy about this season.
Like what?
Stingray, of course, I love Paul Walter
I
Hauser.
thought
I
he
think
was
he's a
great.
brilliant actor.
I thought he was
But
so
it
great. It
was
was
it
so
was
funny.
unnecessary. It was
Nuh-uh.
purely comic relief. Even Sam,
That's what's great about it. It was just purely comic relief.
but
That's what's
it
fine.
wasn't needed, and that's why I didn't like Sam's character this season. Literally every time she spoke, it was just like a one-off like comedic line. Like she's training and she's like talking about how cold it is when they're training in the freezer, and she makes like this quippy line, and then she says, "Oh, now it's too hot," because they go and they say, "Oh, you don't like the hot, you don't like the cold." I thought it was just really, it was campy and it was unnecessary. I really didn't care for the storyline of Daniel and his wife, the whole fighting there.
Let me interject right
Yeah,
here,
yeah,
because this is kind of the leads to the overall big problem why, like, I'm sticking with it. I'm gonna give this a 7.5. This was not a great season. This was a good season, but not a great season. And here's why: is like nothing against the actress that plays Daniel LaRusso's wife or anything like that, but it just feels like, as the audience, you want to see Daniel LaRusso training his karate kids. It's karate kids.
yes,
You want to see him training them. You want to get to the awesome moments with that. But every time she's on screen, she's like, "No, you need to come back to the car dealership." And it's
yes,
boring. It's
yes,
boring. Who wants to watch them take care of their car dealership? They need to figure out a way
exactly,
to fix
yes.
this. It's
I
the
I
biggest
couldn't
flaw
agree
with
more
this
with you.
season for
Yes,
me.
Courtney Hengler is her name,
And she's great.
and
She's does
yeah,
and
there's
it
nothing.
makes
I could
sense
not
why
agree
she's mad
more
and
with you.
everything too. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. But that's not what the show is about. The show is
Exactly.
about, at least now in season 2, about Daniel creating a karate dojo that, Miyagi-Do, that is the right way. And she's just pulling him away from it. You're absolutely right. It's
It,
nothing
it,
against her. It's just, it makes her
it,
a villain, and she's not supposed to be a villain.
exactly. It does make her a villain. And you know what? It's like every time she's doing this, it's literally just slamming on the brakes on the momentum that we're building up over the storyline. That's what season 1 did so well, is
Mm-hmm.
that it just kept going. At the end of every episode, you're like, boom, oh wow, let's get to the next episode. There's a
Yes.
few episodes like in a row in this season where I was like, at the end, man, it just feels like it ends and then they pick up a few days later. It's like whatever. It just like, it's not like, it doesn't have any of that urgency that season 1 had. So they need to
Yes.
pick up the tension and they need to pick up the momentum and pacing for the next season, in my opinion. So that's kind of what I
Absolutely.
say.
Yeah. I
That's the
agree
main
with you.
negative for me.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Yeah, a lot of episodes that way. A
And
lot of storyline. Yeah.
sorry, I just
Go
remembered,
ahead. No, you go ahead.
because you had made the point earlier about the episode that sadly, that actor that played the guy also died. Um, One of Johnny's friends. You get to see them all back together. It was a cool episode, but it feels out of left field. Like it just opens and he gets a phone call and leaves. It felt out of nowhere. I'm not saying it's a bad episode. I'm just saying in the overall arc that they're trying to build, it felt like they're just taking a side path for a long time. So that was like a huge halt on the brakes for me as well this season. Killed the pacing. It just felt like,
I
yeah.
I
What do you
like to
think?
disagree on that episode.
Okay.
And here's why. I think that's an episode that's a turning point for Kreese in that
Mm.
episode. It's important to get Johnny away from the dojo so we see how Kreese has been handling Cobra Kai. It's also important for these guys. Johnny's beginning to trust Kreese. It's important for his friends who also were mentored poorly by Kreese as these high school guys, to bring him back to earth and say, remember, this was not a good guy. And on top of that, I thought the bar fight scene was pretty cool, where they all got to
Yeah,
kick some butt.
yeah, I guess, but it seems so unrealistic to me. I was like, oh, this is cheesy as heck.
Yeah, I can see what you're coming from, but I thought
Okay.
I thought that was important because it was a big turning point for Kreese's character, getting
Okay.
Johnny away from the dojo and having Kreese start to take over, which is really the turning point of the season, where we see, Cobra Kai is once again not a good thing.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah,
I do
absolutely.
want to talk on one more pro, and then I want to get back to the cons. But one pro I did want to add that wasn't the season finale was the episode leading up to the season finale. I thought the whole party sequence in season 2, episode 9,
Uh-huh.
You know which one I'm talking about? At
Refresh my memory.
Moon's house. So at Moon's house, she invites all the Cobra Kais and all the Miyagi-Dos and everyone to her house for a party before school starts.
Yeah.
And, of course, we've got Hawk, who's all upset because Moon is with a girlfriend now, and then he gets into a fight with Dimitri.
Yeah.
Dimitri goes up and starts telling all of Hawk's secrets back when he was Eli.
Right.
Of course, also at that party you have the kiss between Miguel and Sam that Tori sees. So you've got the drinking scene as well between Tori. They're taking the shots and trying to keep their balance, Tori and Sam. I thought those were all great scenes as well. So pretty much, I'll take that back. The last 2 episodes, because that was also the episode, and I enjoyed it quite a bit, where we had the double date with Daniel and his wife and Johnny and Miguel's mom, and I thought that was an awesome sequence too.
Yeah. You know what? We do have to say that, now that you refresh my memory, see, episode 9 is also really, really good too.
Yeah, season 9,
so, yeah.
episode 9 and episode 10 were both fantastic. Everything
those 2 episodes kind of make the season worth it to watch the first half. The first 8. So I think you said you had a few cons you wanted to bring up, but I think I've said my bit as far as cons. What do you have to add?
Yeah, just more on the characters.
Okay.
That fight sequence. It was like before we got the fight starting in the high school in the finale, we had like so many characters that all of a sudden were like rivals that I felt like we should have known, but we didn't. So we had like, of course, we have I want to say Daniel and Johnny, but that's incorrect. We have Miguel and we have Robbie, and then we have Sam and we have Tori. But then there was like these 2 little kids that were like fighting. There was like little redhead kid and a little Asian kid who were like rivals. And then there were like the 2 characters that we never learned the names of, that one stuck it out with Cobra Kai and one went to Miyagi-Do. It was just like, I thought that was just completely unnecessary.
How about let me bring up something that I just remembered as a huge positive for me, because we're talking about the finale, right?
Yes.
Hawk versus Dimitri. He finally breaks through and like starts blocking. I thought that was cool.
I did not like Dimitri this season. I thought
I could see where he could become annoying.
If he's gonna be someone who's not gonna learn karate, you can't just I'm sorry, he's not a Daniel type who was determined. He's not a Robbie type who's determined. He made it clear he wasn't gonna learn. And as far as I'm concerned, there was nothing to lead me to believe that he could have stood a chance against Hawk in that fight scene.
Okay, and then while we're on the top, oh sorry, while we're on the topic of while we're on the topic of Hawk, what do you think about Hawk's storyline this season?
I really, really liked Hawk in season 1.
Me too.
I really liked him.
Me too.
And I don't remember if it was season 1 or season 2 where we had the flashback to the night before the fight where he's like crying at home and his mom's calling the principal because people are making fun of him. And it's like the night. So that's it. In season 2, we have the flashback.
I like that.
And it makes me really feel for him, but he is such a dick. Yeah. I mean,
some of it is just so illogical too.
Yeah. I'll go back to the party scene where, he and Dimitri are finally like warming up to each other after the fight, and they're talking about Doctor Who. And then, they get off topic and talking about Moon, and Dimitri's like, look, you got to let her go. And he's like, no, there is no quit. And like, Dimitri's like, yeah, well, it's kind of obvious. It's right there. She's not with you anymore. And he dumps the drink on him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, you're a dick. I mean, this guy was your only friend. I mean, we remember how pathetic you were in season 1. And it just, I don't know if I can get behind him. I loved him in season 1. I loved the transition. And now it's just like, he's become, truly what Johnny Lawrence was in the Karate Kid film. He's the villain. He is the bully.
Yeah, totally. But, I think his character still carries that complexity with him throughout this season, where you do see him kind of get his guard taken down a little bit, where he kind of gets, his own medicine, a taste of his own medicine a little bit towards the end of the season. But so that's kind of what we think about Hawk. I think maybe I could say that I liked Hawk's storyline a little more than you did this season, Ryan.
Oh, I mean, I love the storyline.
Okay,
don't get me wrong. I can't get behind him. He's a villain.
Right.
He's gone
I like that we have a villain, You know,
Yeah.
that's
No,
yeah.
you're right.
Okay, cool.
Although it once again, I'm going to bring this back to what we said in our Karate Kid episode. Is Hawk the villain? Like, is Darth Vader the villain in Star Wars, or is it Kreese pulling the strings? Which is
Right,
what I
right.
believe. It's Darth Sidious, it's the
And
Emperor,
that's what
whatever
the
you want to
Karate
call him.
Kid tells us too, that there's no bad students, only bad master. Right?
Yes.
That's what Mr. Miyagi says.
Hmm.
So I think that's what they're definitely going for. Now we're at the 20-minute mark right now, Ryan. So I just wanted to take the next 5 minutes um, to kind of wrap up our thoughts on season 2 and give me a quick prediction. What do you think is going to be going on in season 3?
Okay, well, wrapping up my thoughts on season 2. I mean, like we said, it took a step back from season 1, but you got to watch it, especially with season 3 coming up now. It's definitely a watchable show, and we're really looking forward to season 3. Now, season 3, from what I've read so far, I've heard it's going to tie a lot into the second Karate Kid film, which I have never seen, so I got to go back and watch that. Which I believe is the one in which Daniel and Mr. Miyagi go to Okinawa, and you learn sort of Mr. Miyagi's background. So I'm curious to see how that goes. If my prediction is almost Daniel's going to start, Sam with the injury to Miguel. Sam and Miguel are going to get closer again, and I think Daniel's going to start working with Miguel and recovering. I'm curious also to see what goes on with Johnny. I'm almost thinking Johnny and Daniel are going to have to work together somehow this season to take down Cobra Kai and Kreese again. And I think Miguel will be involved. I think we're going to see hopefully a relationship start to build again between Johnny and Robbie. But I'm thinking it's going to be Johnny, Robbie, Miguel, and Sam sort of against the Cobra Kais. That's where I'm thinking it's got to go.
Yeah, so I'm kind of with you on this. I think that the direction our main character we've known from episode 1 has been Johnny. Johnny's trajectory had from the very beginning, I think now retrospectively looking back, has been leading him down towards the path where he has to be the bigger man and shake hands with Daniel and join together and make their own dojo. And it'll come back because this season they had that where it wasn't time yet for the All Valley tournament again. Next season,
Yeah.
it's going to be time for the next All Valley tournament. So it's going to be Johnny and Daniel up against Kreese's Cobra Kai, and
But
in my opinion.
that being said, I think we're going to get some great pushback from Daniel. I by no means think Daniel is our protagonist in this show. I do not like Daniel's character so far. He, definitely has not taken the chance to even observe what Johnny has done and what positive strides Johnny has taken, because all he sees is a negative behind Cobra Kai. Even before Kreese was involved, I think we're going to have some great conflict between Johnny and Daniel, but in the end, they're going to have to come together, which I'm really excited to see how they pull it off in this season.
This is, I think, one of the greatest lessons Mr. Miyagi taught us, and it comes at the beginning of Karate Kid Part 2, actually. I read this in an article where they said that Daniel hadn't learned the real lessons that Mr. Miyagi had taught him, because at the beginning of Karate Kid Part 2, after we get that awesome fight between Mr. Miyagi and Kreese, which we get to see a little bit of in this season 2, Mr. Miyagi says that you can't do anything for a man without any forgiveness in his heart. And Daniel so far has just shown us he doesn't have any forgiveness to give, but eventually I think with Johnny being the bigger person, he'll be able to learn that lesson finally in season 3. And that'll be a really great, turning point if that does happen. But I think like you said, Daniel's been making some mistakes in season 2. So I think that's kind of a little bit of a con as well that I want to wrap up with as far as my season 2 reviews, that Daniel isn't making some of the best decisions for
Yeah. But I
following
mean,
Mr.
the
Miyagi's
same
rules.
the same could be said in season 1, and which is why I think he formed Miyagi-Do to try and better himself and become closer with Mr. Miyagi again. I do have one more thing I want to talk about in what I'm expecting for season 3. Remember, we had the cell phone that Johnny threw into the sand, and what did we see on that cell phone? Allie Mills, whatever her hyphenated last name is now, accepted the friend request from Johnny, and I believe she reached out too. which is what we saw. So we may be getting to see Elizabeth Shue or whoever, maybe a new actress playing her as well, as Allie back here in season 3.
Yeah, that could be great too. I always looking forward to that. That sounds like it could be an interesting addition. Um, so with all that said, so my score was 7.5. Ryan's was an 8 out of 10. Uh, we've kind of said pretty much all our thoughts. We could go in depth a little bit more, but I feel like we give it our clear view of what we thought of season 2. So with that said, my name's Dom Gonzalez. You can follow me at Dom Gonzalez 48 on Instagram and Twitter. Let me know in the comments down below as well if there's anything you liked about the show, any suggestions for future episodes, topics for us to talk about. Please leave those down below. But yeah, so go ahead, Ryan, and take us out for this one.
Yeah. So as he said, he's Dom Gonzalez. My name's Ryan Barnett, RB. You can find me on Instagram at RB_the_SID. Thanks for watching another episode of Top of the List. Be sure to like, follow our page, and subscribe. And if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, go ahead and leave a 5-star review. But thanks for tuning in. Have a great week. We'll see you next week with another great episode.